All right, well, we're going to start it this way here today. YouTube seems to be having a little bit of an error there. But hey, welcome to the closing beat. This is our second attempt at doing this. Hope you're having a good day today so far. It is Tuesday already, September 11th, of course, remembering those from 9/11, 17 years. Holy cow, that was quick, right? Time goes by. They say that everybody has a moment in time that they remember exactly where they're at. There's some event that's happened in life where you remember exactly where you were at and the sort of day's events. And I could say I'm one of them. I definitely remember exactly where I was at and exactly what was going on. So hope you have a chance to remember that. Hope you had your chance to pay your respects and everything. Here's the top headlines of the day. Welcome to the closing beat. We've got oil stocks higher ahead of oil and stocks higher ahead of Hurricane Florence. Now, when I say stocks, I mean like Home Depot, Lowe's, things like that in preparation for it. Gasoline prices a little bit higher. Apple higher ahead of their event tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second. Elon Musk back in the news, trying to put the attention back on Tesla. We'll focus on that. And hey, we're having an open house tomorrow at 8 o'clock at night Eastern time. If you have a moment, if you've been thinking about Jazz Wealth or thinking about working with us in some capacity, you'll be able to come by and check us out. So I hope you have a second to do that. And I hope this is working. Is this working? I should have probably thought this through a little bit more. It seems like it's working. We're going to go with it. Okay, so let's talk about this today. If you're joining us for the first time, you've got the information you need on the charts or on the screen all over the place here. The Dow higher on the day by about 113. We'll go over that in a minute. Only a few names pulling the Dow higher today, really sort of helping that that index. The S&P 500 closed higher by 10, and the NASDAQ added 48, thanks to basically a rebound in tech stocks. We'll go over those also in just a moment. You can see on the chart here, we're going to change this up a little bit, but you can see the chart down here. That is an every 5-minute period of what the stock market did today. So every blip that you see there is a 5-minute time passing from 9:30 to 4 o'clock. And you can see basically the markets started lower, recovered all of it, and then kind of petered out for the day. They didn't really do anything for the second half of the day. It was kind of a slow news day if you follow along with that. There's not much you can really say there. So we'll try to just go look at the charts here and see what we can figure out. If we go over to the charts, you're looking at the Dow on the screen here today. Nice reversal day. You can tell by the candlestick there if you follow that sort of thing. Good reversal day for the Dow to put it back near the upper end of the range over the last, 7 days or so. And if I go over to the Dow, here's some of the bigger gainers in the Dow. You got Apple. Well, Apple being your biggest gainer in the Dow. 2.5%. They've got their big reveal tomorrow, their new phones coming out. I'm thinking they're going to have lower prices. I don't know how closely you follow this stuff, but their phones are coming out tomorrow, and I'm going to say they're basically just going to be a little bit cheaper. They have to. I mean, it would be great for the stock, great for the company. I think because there's not a significant change, I don't think anything's really going to blow your mind tomorrow, I think the big focus will be on the price. So that's that. Microsoft, Microsoft headed back to the highs there, about a 2% gain on the day. Home Depot, a big leader, made new highs. That's one of those stocks that's higher because of Hurricane Florence, headed towards South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia area. And then you had ExxonMobil, one of the names that was focused on today because ExxonMobil higher because of the price of oil. If we go through and look at the price of oil real quick, what we end up with, 3% gain on the day. Nice gain on the day, closed up 3.5%. So the price of oil naturally a little higher because gasoline's a little bit higher. Production's naturally going to be a little bit higher as we go into, or disrupted. Production's going to be disrupted as we go into the hurricane. Now remember, there's another story here, and we highlighted this about 2 weeks ago, but this is sort of a backfire for the U.S. So there are also sanctions against Iranian oil. The goal was to, of course, punish them, but the U.S. said, hey, everywhere else that you're not getting your oil from Iran, go get it somewhere else or make it yourselves. Increase production. So contrary to what the media says, the actual directive was for these other countries to just make more oil, produce more oil, because the U.S. does not want prices to go higher. So because of that, what's actually happened in the real world is everybody else didn't increase their production. So we put sanctions on Iran, however, everybody else didn't follow along yet to create more oil. What does that mean? That means there is since that didn't happen, the supply concerns still exist, right? Whereas the hopes were everybody else would start making more oil, we'd leave Iran in the dust, and basically the price of oil would stay the same, stabilize, or even fall a little bit. That didn't work. So far, sort of backfiring on the price of oil. Now, when we get back to after the hurricane passes and the focus is on that, we're going to go right back to trade tariffs. It sort of blipped up in the news a little bit today, but tariffs and the deal between China and, of course, the deal we're trying to work with Canada was just sort of a bottom, distant news event today, so not really a big deal there. Intel was your worst performer in the Dow today, and that's because the semiconductor stocks were largely led lower today by Intel. Remember, Intel makes up, I believe, about 9% of the semiconductor sector. And so basically, as you look through the semiconductor stocks, Intel lower on the day, Micron down about another 3%. So Micron, that's about a 50% decline, actually. If you go from this high down to where it was at its lows today, that's about a 50% decline just in a couple months. So those stocks getting hit there. The semiconductors as a whole, if you look at the sort of the sector ETFs, if you will, still hovering right around the 200-day moving average. What NVIDIA do? NVIDIA was a little weak today, so weakness across the board, and that held back your Intel, which is your worst performer in the Dow, actually. If we go over to the S&P 500, you got a couple different stories. Well, let's start on the downside for you. So on the downside here, Western Digital, right? Another one of those tech names, Western Digital lower. Intel, one of the worst performers. Micron, one of the worst performers. Lam Research, Seagate Technology. You get the hint there on some of these tech stocks. Texas Instruments lower on the day, breaking through the 200-day moving average. And that was really a lot of the focus on the downside for the S&P 500. On the upside, look at ATVI. This is a video game maker, the Call of Duty guys. Stock was higher by 7%. The key word out there today was Fortnite killer. Ask your kids if you don't know what that is. They said that their new Call of Duty is going to be a Fortnite killer, and because of that, Activision Blizzard, strong move today, and Take-Two up 3.5% on the day. Good job for those two stocks if you're in that sector there. United Rentals, they're acquiring another company. That broke above the 200-day moving average today for the first time in about 3 months. That's a big deal. Just pointing that out there. Big deal. And then the other names that were higher today fall in the oil space. So you had like Hess, a name you've all heard of before, Devonshire Energy. Where else can we go here? Concho Resources. And then as we go down the list, more and more of these become energy-type stocks. Helmerich Payne, and so on, as Pioneer. You get my drift here. A lot of these names near the top of the S&P 500 sector today. Let's do a few stocks in the news today because there was not a whole lot going on. Oops, nope, I didn't type that right. Sonos, these guys make that speaker. It's a really expensive speaker that's wireless. It's just a speaker. Right? So they went public. The company reported earnings. Revenue declined 6%. That's a big deal when you don't really make any money. If your revenues are coming down, that's a big deal. They basically said, well, the stock was down 20+% today, 22%. Revenue was $208 million. They lost 45 cents a share. Not good. So it looks a little funny on the chart because if you go back to the low, all the way to the left-hand side of this chart, that's day one. So the company just started trading. Day 1, day 2, 3, 4, and so on and so on. They report their first earnings. They disappointed everybody. Not cool, man. So let's move on to Snapchat. Snapchat in the news, it did recover a little bit. It's been on this waterfall kind of a drop, but it recovered 1.5% today. Company was upgraded by an analyst at Wedbush, pretty big name there, to outperform. They raised their price target to $12.25 from $11.50. And that analyst, by the way, that raised that price target does okay. He's got about a 60% batting average, meaning the stocks that he upgrades do better within a 12-month window, get to that price target, or do better over a 12-month time period 60% of the time. So that's not bad. That's pretty good as far as all the analysts concerned, believe it or not. Apple, of course, we talked about that. They've got their they've got their phone release tomorrow, but more importantly that an analyst at UBS raised their price target to 250. Now you go, well, 250, that's not so bad. That's like just new highs basically. But they were at 215, so aggressively going for new highs there, that the analyst says that they find that their hardware devices and services are going to be growing for the next 2 years. So they had good things to say there. Interestingly, if you follow this, Nike, the stock's recovered all of its losses from the Colin Kaepernick ad that they ran. I told you guys about that. That was strategically placed just for the opening day of football. That's all that was, nothing more. That was a big free publicity thing. We talked about it a few days ahead of time. Tesla. So Tesla, kind of good for him. Elon Musk is trying to put the focus back on the company. He came out today with some ideas that they were going to cut 2 of the paint colors for the Tesla. It sounds silly, but it's actually a pretty good idea if you look into their manufacturing and the problems that they're having. If they get rid of these 2 colors and charge a premium for those 2 colors, then I really think it's going to help them overall. If they can get the focus back on the fundamentals, back on the company producing a profit, which they said they would do, coming up in this next quarter, and back on the actual production numbers, I think this whole Elon Musk thing with what he's doing in his personal life or outside of that, it'll just kind of go away. If the man can produce, then nobody cares, right? You look at someone like Steve Jobs. The man produced. Nobody cares what you do. So we'll see what happens there. It's obviously not the last of it, so we'll start to see. We'll look through that. And then Intel, I actually thought about doing a full top-down analysis of AMD and how they're kind of stealing the thunder here lately. There's a lot of cool little details about what AMD is doing. I don't know if you guys care enough about that, but kind of like a whole analyst approach to AMD, their earnings, surprises, all that sort of great stuff. We'll think about it. What else do we have here? Berkshire Hathaway sold another 36% of Phillips 66. If you're interested in that, the symbol is PSX. The stock was down about 1% today. It's kind of the lesser known positions that they're getting rid of there at Berkshire Hathaway. And Boeing is bringing back retired workers, people that thought they were done working. They're asking them to come back to work to fix and help with their delays on the 737. Remember, they're way behind on that 737, so we'll see. Anyways, Kronos not... Oh, you guys and your pot stocks. You guys and your pot stocks there. Yeah, it's basically sort of fizzled out. I saw Tilray, if you guys focus on that, Tilray did break to new highs, didn't it? It did. New all-time highs there. That's that recent IPO, if you're following those pot stocks. You like ATVI? I bet you love it today if you have it, if you own it. Oh, I don't get into that, punk. Yeah, I don't see how, but if everybody wants to say that and it pushes the stock price up, I'm not going to complain. You like we'll do it for AMD? Yeah. We'll think about it. I started looking at it last night when I got bored. You're long, and then we'd love to know your thoughts on AMD. Sure. It wouldn't necessarily be my thoughts, kind of just like an overview. I was thinking of how their earnings are going, what sort of products they're moving into, how things are going, good or bad. I don't know, just a test video. You got a 3-year-old child with earned income sitting in a Roth IRA. How many stocks would you consider to be a minimum for diversification? We want her to swing for the fences. Then swing for the fences with every growth stock, every growth position you can. Keep track of that and just go for it, right? Anything growth oriented and you can look at it in a couple different ways, but anything growth oriented, high beta names, you want something moving faster than the market. You want a portfolio that moves faster than the market. You don't need to bother with the index funds when you can go faster than the index funds. So given that you're saying you want to swing for the fences, swing. That's all I have to say. Swing as hard as possible with the fastest, most aggressive stuff you can. What's the average return on aggressive growth mutual? We don't have mutual funds. I think you mean the portfolio is on our website, actually. And the performance is always on the website. We update it monthly. So if you want to look, when you say average, I mean, today, like 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. So we have it all on the website there, so you can break it down for you there. And yeah, that's about it. I feel like I talked a lot. Yeah, 15 minutes, that's pretty good. Let me know, are these too short or are they too long? Because I can talk, man. You know me. Anyways, have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got a whole slew of videos coming out tomorrow. your fin tips videos coming out. You've got the dough show coming out. We got the closing beat, and then we got an open house. I will be here 4 times tomorrow, so I'm gonna go to sleep, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.